Welcome to another episode of Invest Iowa. We talk about all real estate, investing, how to improve your mindset, how to get out of your regular job, how to stop working 40 hours a week and start working on yourself, how to improve overall. And today we have Dan.
Thank
Dan?
you. Thanks
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah,
Excited
yeah,
to be here.
So the way I met him is through a group of investors, a meetup group that it's held at Smoky Row every Friday at 7 a.m. It's really good for people that are just getting started and getting into the entire process of, I want to get to a financial freedom point in my life, but I just don't know how to start. Well, real estate, I mean, most multimillionaires have made their fortunes via real estate, so it's something you can go off in that order of ideas. Dan right here is a commercial real estate agent, which means that he has a lot of knowledge that he can transfer onto us. So without further ado, talk to me.
Well, thank you. I guess maybe kind of little introduction about who I am. I know you said I'm a commercial real estate agent, which so I do that. I'm also an investor here in the Des Moines area, but also Iowa in general. And then prior to that, I was working full time at some other jobs and just didn't want to do that anymore, and thought this would be the way to go. So kind of went full into it, probably about last 2 years.
So you fit the description that I just gave, that like, okay, I need to find ways to better utilize my time.
Absolutely, minus the multi-mega millionaire part, but the rest of it, fits.
That we're getting there. We're getting there
Yeah, maybe next in a couple years if we do this again.
in a couple decades. Okay, so let's go back in time. When do you start? How do you get into the workforce?
Well, so just like
Yeah.
real estate wise, or like what was I doing before, or what?
Okay, let's just start from the beginning. Like, let's say did you start working when you were 18?
Yeah, so right out of high school, I actually
So you didn't go to college.
I did, but we got to get there. So first, I joined the Marines.
Okay.
Right out of high school. Just kind of had a wild hair to go do that. Was in the Marine Corps for a couple years, and I was doing well, and I got accepted to a commissioning program. And part of that is they'll basically pay for you to go to college, because you have to have a college degree before you can become an officer in the Marine Corps. So I was kind of bouncing back and forth. I was like, I could do like the Naval Academy, and then I was like, I could also have fun and go to Iowa State or somewhere around here, and also have a little bit of college. So I ended up coming back, went to Iowa State, finished there, went back into the Marines, did that a few more years, deployed to Afghanistan, met my wife, and then kind of was looking for a different lifestyle. Got out and then actually moved back to Iowa from there, and kind of that moving back is kind of how we got into real estate by accident. We just so happened to come back. We were looking for a place to live and bought a duplex and moved in. It wasn't, I wasn't watching podcasts. I didn't know really anything about real estate. We just needed a place to live. And maybe about 6 months to a year or so of living there, I was like, we're making money doing this. Like, do you think if we bought another one, we'd make money doing that too? And so that's just kind of, and we did, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So that's kind of the origin story, I guess, if you will. And then, like I said, maybe about 2 years ago, I was working a lot of hours. I was actually in law enforcement. It just kind of got to a point where, again, it wasn't working with the family. It wasn't what I wanted. And that was where we saw real estate as a good vehicle to get out of that and continue building wealth and making money.
So from what time frame were you in the as a police officer? You were?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what time frame was that? From what year to what year?
Oh,
As in, like, how old were you on that?
when I started, I was maybe like, I'm kind of guessing here a little bit, maybe like 26, 27.
So you already had how many properties did you had at the time?
Just the one.
Just the one, the
duplex.
duplex.
Yep. And that, so we came back, moved in there, got the duplex, got a job being a police officer at the time after I got out of the Marine Corps. Then actually was, working that and just kind of on the side doing real estate. And maybe,
You were being a passive investor, you mean? That's
well, no, we've
actively looking for deals?
Yeah, we've bought in all of our own properties. We've kind of had maybe what you could say limited partners over the years where we've, gone together on, or, loans, I guess you could say. But it's always been our properties. We've managed them up until recently. Now we have a property manager. But so it was having a full-time W-2 job, then also on, nights, weekends, spare time, managing properties, fixing up stuff in them. If, nothing, it wasn't like big fix and flip stuff, but if there were, little value add type projects, we would hit those up.
So how old were you when you bought your first property?
It would have been about 26 maybe.
You were 26. Okay.
Yeah.
I still got time. I'm 22.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the game from when I figured this stuff out. And I didn't even fully figure it out. Like I said, when I bought that first property, it was kind of by accident and kind of getting lucky.
Right. Okay. So at 26, you buy your first property. You realize that that's making money. You start looking for second deals. When does your second deal happen?
Oh, well, we bought our house in between there, so I guess that wasn't really a investment, but at the same time it freed up, the unit that we were living in the duplex, and that, man, when was that? Maybe 2014 or so. So it wasn't super fast.
You were cash flowing still
Yeah.
when you move out. How much was
Yes.
your mortgage,
Oh,
roughly?
yeah, man.
Were you cash
Should
flowing?
have had me take some notes here. Yes, yeah. We were, I want to say we bought it for maybe about 160 and we were getting, maybe 1,800 in rent.
And
or
right.
So,
So probably mortgage about 1,000.
yeah, it was less than, at the time. Yeah. So it was pretty good.
Pretty profitable.
We also, we didn't do any crazy, well, not crazy, but we didn't do any strategies as far as real, we put a 20% down, bought it just the normal, the way you'd expect somebody to buy it when we first did it. It wasn't, like I said, we weren't really following any strategies at the time. So, yeah, we put a good chunk down payment down. We had a decent rate then. I think it was maybe in the 4s. And so, yeah, it was good property for us.
So then you bought a house, right? And that's not so much of a property. I'm sure the wife said, we need a better place to raise a family.
Yeah, it was we're having a kid. I don't want to live in this duplex anymore. Let's find a house, and we're still in there right now.
Right. So were you at the time you still had a full-time job? You were
Yes.
getting a full-time income plus the property.
Correct.
Okay, so that's it. That's your second property, not necessarily an investment. What was your third property?
Then we got another duplex. And that was maybe. It was a couple of years after that, even.
Did you have any sort of guidance through all this process? Like at what point were you starting actually like realizing, oh, there's people that know how to strategize this?
So I think at that point I'd was watching, maybe some podcasts or listening to stuff, but I wasn't very into real estate, I guess you could say. It was, we're doing well with this, but I guess I hadn't really fully grasped, what you can do with real estate, how you could, the wealth building opportunities, the strategies to really grow your portfolio. That wasn't really all there. It was more of, we had success at this one property, we've saved up, or we're trying to save up what's something good we can invest in next. And so let's do some more real estate.
Okay. And then after that, it just kind of snowballs.
Yes.
At what point you decide that, okay, no longer working, I want to transition into more real estate?
Well, so I guess I thought I wanted to do that in 2019. I didn't do it until January of this year. But during that time, I had one, I wanted to get the portfolio bigger, get more properties, get more advanced, learn more stuff. But then also, when you have a wife and kid and you have great insurance and you've got a paycheck coming in all the time, it was really hard for me to basically walk away from that and make sure that I was still going to be able to take care of my family.
Right.
And that it wasn't just me out there, where I could live. I've lived in some pretty rough spots with some
Right.
pretty meager things, but I don't want to do that with my wife and son. So that was kind of a big, how do I make this work and be smooth, but also, do it, I guess, conservatively, so that it doesn't all fall apart, I guess, get too over leveraged or too, maybe buy a bad property that we can't handle or something like that.
So how do you come up with that conclusion? Like because you did quit your job.
Yes. Yep. Well, we'd gotten to a point where, and I don't have a specific number, I guess, cash flow wise where we were at. But it was right after we did our first 1031 exchange and got an apartment complex.
Okay. Could we go further into 1035? Like, what does that mean? What's a 1035?
1031.
Yep.
Yep.
1031.
Yeah. So it's basically it's a way to defer your taxes on, when you're selling one property or a couple properties and buying more. So if you were to sell, and let's say you were going to make $100,000 off your sale, well, you got to give Uncle Sam, his 30 grand,
Right.
and then you only have 70,000 to invest in your next property. Well, if you do a 1031 exchange, and there's all sorts of, you should find help, get somebody. There are companies that
This is not financial
right
advice
There are
at all.
companies that'll help you do it, but then you'll have the 100,000 to invest in your next property
Without the
Without-
tax cut.
paying those taxes. Now they're not gone. The IRS has got a little notepad saying like, hey, this guy didn't pay his 30,000, and they're remembering it, and it follows you onto the next property. But you can get a bigger property because you have more money for the down
Leverage.
payment, so you can grow the portfolio faster without paying that extra money, I guess, if you will. Now, if I went to sell that, for us it was that apartment complex. If we go to sell that, we're going to have to pay what we didn't pay on the the original couple of houses that we sell.
Which I believe is not your plan.
Right? No, yeah,
Right.
we're probably gonna do it again to an even bigger
Right.
property, or just the kind of two things are is you keep buying, keep getting bigger, and then hold it, and then when you die, that goes away, and your family just gets it at cost basis, unless there's always new
Yeah.
rules and laws and whatnot that could change that, but that's kind of where it is right now.
Let's take it a step back to I would like to make emphasis on when do you decide to transition from single family, multifamily to an actual apartment complex? Like, where does that change happen?
For us, it was, I think we were at about seven properties, some single family, some duplex. And it was, we're starting to get a lot of equity, and how can we scale to more units, but also not necessarily
Put
have
as
to
much
drive-
effort.
Right. Not as much effort. We don't have to drive to, 24 different properties. We get to drive to one property, and, there's all the units are there. The property management can take care of it. So it's kind of a way to maybe streamline as well as grow the portfolio.
Gotcha. Okay, so now that you've done your 1031, what number was your apartment deal?
Like number of units, or
As in,
just
as in,
how
like,
many-
how many properties did it take you to go to apartments?
It was maybe our seventh or eighth or something
Seven or
around
eighth?
that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at that point was when you were starting to think of like quitting your job, or that
Yes,
that already
yeah.
happened?
So that thought was in the back of my mind already, and it was just kind of like I was saying. I wanted to get to a point where I thought it was safe to leave the one and have enough money coming in from the other, to make it work. Kind of at the same time, my wife had also started being a residential real estate agent. And
She's currently a
Yes,
real estate agent.
she's currently doing that, and she's been doing it longer than me on the commercial side, because she kind of hopped into it first, and she had a lot of success, and she kind of had gotten that up off the ground while I was kind of managing our portfolio, and then working on, hey, how am I going to get out of this next? And I was like, well, I can then jump into the commercial side where, one, I can learn a lot about the market and the properties, selling that I'd be interested in, but also to make some money and help some other people, buy and sell their properties as well.
Okay, so you became a commercial real estate agent because you were actively looking for those deals.
Yes, that was part of a big part of the reason.
Okay. Just for the people that don't know this, what is the difference? Like, what are some main key points that differentiate real residential and commercial real estate agent?
Right. Yeah, so it's at least license wise in Iowa, it's nothing. If you are licensed to sell real estate in Iowa and I'm licensed, we can all do all of it. So it's more of an area of focus. But the properties that would generally fit in under the commercial side are going to be your multifamily above 4 units, so 5 to however many. And then if you're going to have, industrial space, retail space, or office space, or a combination of that. Also some land, and it's usually land that has more of a some sort of development possibilities on it, and not just, if it's just lots for residential, usually residential realtors will kind of take over working to just sell a lot where they're going to build a house, but not necessarily.
Okay. Then, how long have you been a commercial real estate agent for?
So since January this year, so
Since
about a
January.
year.
About a year. So it's something kind of new for you. How did
Yes.
COVID
Yep.
interfere your plans?
It didn't really.
No.
No, it didn't. It actually kind of probably pushed forward some of my dislikes about, or maybe amplified things that I didn't like with my previous, W-2 job, because I was obviously considered essential. We were working more hours, had tons of stress on it, wasn't getting any extra pay to do all. Didn't get any of the. Shouldn't say any because we got the checks that they sent out to everybody, but there was no
Extra
there was no
benefit.
getting furloughed and working from home in my pajamas for extra. No, it was
You were essential the entire time,
you're gonna go do what you've always done, and
but with a face
you're
mask.
gonna deal it. Yeah, yes, yeah.
So, how does politics relate to commercial real estate, if it even relates? Like,
Absolutely
Yeah,
does.
it does.
We
we don't have to get too political.
No, I won't. I'm not gonna.
But just
Throw
so
it
we
any-
can, because I know that Biden is going to have a completely different position with regards to the way that wealth building it's overall constructed. Like, he's going to have a different mindset that I'm sure
Right.
Trump had, and like a lot of people liked.
Yeah. So I guess big picture politically wise, you're gonna have things like getting your bonus depreciation was something that came about, I believe, during Trump's time, which is now getting cut back each year. So that was something that was really good for investors wanting to grow their portfolio, getting the bonus depreciation. And then, you also have where interest rates are going and that sort of thing. So big picture, those are probably some things as, whatever new legislation gets passed, and then just your monetary and fiscal policy and how that might affect things.
So
To
you,
me-
you will
Sorry,
say
go ahead.
you will say mostly tax cuts, like that'll be the main aspect of it?
Well, I mean, going forward, I have no idea what will happen going forward. But I'm saying those could, you got to kind of strategize around things. Like one of the big things now is you're getting, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, I think there was a big thing for like solar panels and environmental things that you're getting tax deductions for. Well, if investors weren't going to be able to get tax deductions to add these things, they might not have added, big solar panels to their buildings if they weren't going to get a big subsidy from the government. And just kind of the same as if you weren't going to get this 100% bonus depreciation, if you were going to get no bonus depreciation, people probably wouldn't pay for cost segregation studies. So it's kind of a way for them to get you to do things they want you to do, if they make sense, financially. But more kind of big picture wise, you just got to kind of pay attention to those things and, maybe adjust your strategy off of it. But more locally, there's a huge networking portion to, who developers are, who landowners are, working with, local planning and zoning commissions and looking at the comprehensive plans for these cities, which, each city will have a comprehensive plan which goes over where they want certain buildings, what kind of development they want in certain areas, and basically kind of knowing all those different people working together and finding buildings to fit or businesses to fit in those areas, or seeing a change that's maybe happening in an area and talking to different businesses and saying, hey, this area going forward, they want to have a more industrial feel to it, I guess, and finding feel or zoning, and finding a company that could move in there, or that would be a good space for them, or reaching out to a landowner in that area and say, hey, maybe this isn't a farm anymore, that, they're wanting to build apartments and all that. And, maybe we could look at seeing what your property's worth, something like that. And then there are also, tax credits, or tax abatements, things like that, or just straight out grant money that local areas will give because they want certain properties redeveloped, or they want somebody to come in because they think it'll be good for the community. I'm sure, like out in Bondurant, I don't know, but I'm guessing, those Amazon and Facebook and all those folks, they probably got some deals. They aren't coming in and just paying market price and paying full on all their tax. They're getting deals to help spur development, because it's going to provide more jobs. It's going to
more people will move in, more
tax income for the area. All that stuff is the thought behind it. Does it always work out that way? Not necessarily, but
okay. So in that, I think you were getting a little bit into proactivity with regards to talking and networking. Less emphasized what your journey has been as a real estate agent. So when you started January last year, right? If you could just describe it, how has that process been? What has it take from you to build a successful business?
Yeah, so right away, just kind of letting people know, like, hey, I'm not just an investor anymore, because I've been out there before in the marketplace looking for my own deals, and now it's kind of hey, I'm not just looking for me anymore. I still am looking for me if the right thing comes along, but it's finding other people who are interested in either buying or selling, or businesses as well, and just getting that out there and meeting as many of them, ones that I didn't know or ones that I already did, and basically letting them know, like, hey, what I'm doing has changed a little bit, and seeing how it might fit with what they've got going on. So doing that, and kind of one thing that I wasn't really expecting that has changed that I thought was really interesting is just when it'll kind of come off sounding bad, but I don't mean for it to. There were different agents and folks that I had worked with, and just your relationship with them and lenders and insurance agents, it all changes too when you were the investor to now you're kind of competition maybe or a client. So some of the relationships that I had at a time kind of changed a little bit too. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it was kind of like, oh, this was a route that I used to go, and it's now I can't do that, I guess.
They're not gonna be as open to you and give you as much advice and try to be
right. Yeah, to some extent, yes.
cautious because
Yeah.
that's
Right.
their job.
Right. It's they got to feed their kids kind
Yeah.
of thing too. So that was kind of something I wasn't necessarily expecting. Quite the same. And then there's also I had been investing in multifamily, but there's so much more stuff just in the local market, in different property types, in business commercial leasing, and so there's a huge education portion that I'm still trying to learn more stuff. There's tons just I need to absorb all these things because I was kind of in my own single family duplexes, getting into apartments. Even on apartments, there's on a larger scale, there's just stuff that I hadn't known about or wasn't super familiar with. So, finding those folks that are doing those things, we've had on the Friday mornings, there's a handful of folks that come in doing, talking about syndication deals. Like that was something I wasn't, super knowledgeable about, but have definitely picked up the pace here. Now I have a handful of folks that are trying to get into the Des Moines area.
Owen,
Yeah, from Cindy. Well, Owen's already knows, but yeah, I met up with him the other day. But some folks out of Texas and Arizona and some of those places trying to convince them, like, hey, Des Moines not a bad place. It's kind of, when a lot of these bigger places are looking around the country, it's not necessarily one of their top 10 markets, but it's kind of a hidden gem in my opinion. So kind of getting that word out and having some of them come look at different properties, see the area and trying to get some of them to invest here is kind of been something we've been working on lately, I guess.
okay, but that's completely like we could dedicate an entire podcast just for the part of syndications and getting like investors like from outside here. Darzon does it as well, but more on the residential side and multifamily. I don't think too much on the commercial side.
Right.
But that's completely different topic for another podcast because I really want to get in detail for that matter. Now let's get to that one section in which we just rapid fire some questions at you and you just try to describe them as fast as simple as you can.
Let's do it.
So we're gonna start off with if you were 20 to 22 years old, you have a W-2 job, basic income, you're making $20 an hour, you're working 40 hours a week. How do you get your first property?
Okay. Yeah, so kind of there are folks coming in on Friday mornings all the time, and it's a very popular question. I think for me, it would be some sort of house hack. Now, you'd have to go and kind of see what different property we could find. I'm a big fan of duplexes, but also if you had, if you could find some other single family house that had some extra rooms or something, buy it. If you can get something with a lower down payment, if you can go FHA, or if you're a veteran, you got, a VA loan, try doing that. And then you live in it and you get roommates and you get your roommates to pay you some of the money and go that route. And, there's also the flexibility with, Airbnb now. If you wanted to try to go that route, you could. That's not. I don't want to go too far into that because that's not my specialty by any means. But there are plenty of folks that are successful doing that. But I would get something where I could get some owner occupied financing, try to get a lower down payment, and then I would move in and try to get, as many roommates as I could get without, hating my life, I guess, because you still, you might have to sacrifice a little bit early on, but you still don't want to be like completely miserable. But so if you could find something that has, a little unit in the basement or in the attic that if you were just a young single person, you could live in, do that and then rent out the rest of the house. Or if, maybe you're married and have a kid or something like that, if you can find, a duplex, you could still have half of it. You have a little bit of privacy, but you're still also getting, that extra income.
Side income pay for your mortgage.
Yes. Yeah.
How would you go about building credit? Just basic. How would you start? Like, 18 years old, 16 years old. Like, when do you say it will be a great time to start building credit?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's something you just everybody needs to do as soon as they can, and at least not do anything to wreck it. Having the W-2 job is, that's kind of the easiest route, I would say, going at the beginning, is having that consistent income coming in, but then, having a credit card that you use smartly but pay off. You have your, somewhere that maybe you have to rent or something, but you spend your money, but then you pay your bills. So you have a couple of lines of credit on different stuff, and then you pay them off. And now there might be some other good ways out there, but that's just kind of basic. If you were to ask me what I would do, and then if you were going down the real estate route, I would talk to some lenders, not be scared to go to a couple different banks and see, just talk to them. Most of them are, especially if they know that you're interested in investing in real estate, they're going to talk to you. They're going to tell you, what you might need to improve on, how much down payment they might be willing to do, what kind of, LTV you'd be looking at for what different loan product, what they've got. So,
Okay, so be proactive with regards to, you don't have to have the money, you don't have to have the credit, but like they will tell you what you need to improve on. So start making connections with them.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. And if some might, in fact, it's kind of funny because this happened to us years ago. Is we went in and a loan officer didn't give us the time of day. It was basically, we started going over all the stuff, and it just so happened that it was when I got out of the Marine Corps before I started my next job. So it was kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, it was like, well, I don't have a job. And it was, it's kind of like the look on his face, like, okay, you're not buying a house. But we went and talked to another one, and we figured out a way to make it work. And we bought the duplex.
The duplex.
Things have gone from there, but it was, you got to get out and talk to some different folks and meet some, and maybe it's not the specialty for the first lender that you talk to, but there might be another one out there that can help you.
That was pretty good. I think that will wrap it up for this chapter. How do people reach out to you? How can they contact you if they have more information about, if they want more information about commercial real estate, maybe advice, I don't know, they want to network with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, if they want to network, they can come. I go to the Friday morning meetups, but I'm a commercial agent at NAI Iowa Realty Commercial in Des Moines. You can go to just Google that. We got a website. What else? I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, pretty much just under my name and
Dan Dempsey.
Yep. And if you check under NAI Iowa Realty Commercial, you'll find me here.
You'll find you.
Pretty easy to find.
Here in Iowa, it's quite easy to find people because it's not that big of a city, right? So
yeah, yep.
You can find them pretty easily. But thank you so much for watching this entire podcast. If you have made it to the end, hope you learned something. If not, come back next week. We'll have something. Yeah. We'll have something different.
There'll be somebody new on here. That can
there'll be someone better.
Don't know.
But other than that, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for watching again. Subscribe and hit the like button. That always helps. And yeah, looking forward to answering any questions that you might leave in the comment, answering any questions that you might have. If you reach out to me and have questions for Dan, I will make sure that he answers those questions. So he will be back right here answering those questions. But we will need plenty.
Yeah, sounds good.
More than that, until next one, bye-bye.